Hey, folks that are watching, can let me know if my microphone's doing better this week. I'm just giving a few minutes to see if people want to come along in the fleet or if I'm just running this class from Twitch. I'm supposed to start at 8 o'clock if I can speak, but there's a strat up, so slight delay. Well, there's a few of you on via Twitch, so hopefully you can hear me just fine. I can start giving a little kind of introductory chat if anyone wants to come along. You don't have to be able to fly a bomber to join. Just a frigate is fine, fit with an afterburner. Um, and you can learn a little bit about speed tanking as well. So, Braves in Blood Raider space, which means that you have to really fly the Purifier, the Nemesis. Bombers are damage locked. If you go to the bonuses on the hull, they are damage locked to EM for the Purifier and Thermal for Nemesis. So it's really one of those two that you'd have to train your frigate skills into. Training for a bomber is something you probably really want to do if you don't fly a bomber yet, is it gives you access to a lot of the Blops fleets since they can fit this covert ops cloaking device. So if you can't fly the big ships like Loki's that are used for covert ops, then you can still come along and blops people and do some fun spoopy things, which is always good. However, I use bombers as an alternate ratting method. So on paper, a bomber is completely outdone by an Ishtar or a Praxis or something bigger like that. And I find that a lot of people really gravitate towards fits and ships that, on paper really look the best. However, the better the ship that you field, the bigger the target you are. E3 can be quite dangerous in Brave's home system, and lots of people like to come and camp it. Droppers can be there, so they can be cloaky, suddenly appear on field, light a signal, and then you have 10 redeemers dropped onto your shiny new Praxis or Dominix. So I tend to find that although I have these ships, have access to these ships, that I might only have an hour or two, and when I happen to log on, it's busy and dangerous, and there's lots of things going up in intel, and I don't really feel like fielding something that I can't really afford to lose, or on the edge of affording to lose. So just get out a bomber. I do have two accounts, so it does get, with anything else, it does get a little bit more efficient when you have access to two bombers, but it's still totally viable if you just have one bomber. That's great. Thanks. So let me know that you can hear me fine. So this is the fit here. This one, although it's a bomber, does not actually fit bombs. That's another class, another skill, really for PvP only. We were actually fitting with torpedo launchers, and that's where we're going to do a lot of our damage. On paper, because I've got these Tech 2, launchers, I can fit the Rage torpedoes, which do the most damage. However, the drawback to them is that they only apply to the very largest targets, and even then it's a push. So on paper here, I'm doing, nearly 6.3k alpha, which has a DPS with my launcher rate of 716 DPS. That's amazing for a frigate sized class ship. So you can punch way above your weight. If you're just getting started, it's unlikely that you can fit these Tech 2 guns. So the ammo that you're mostly going to be using is, I would recommend the Kodari Navy Molyneux torpedoes. Now, they're more expensive than your base Molyneux torpedoes, okay? But for terms of applying to some of the smaller ships, which is really the things that threaten you with this fit, I would just eat the cost, to be honest. You're going to make that back just by taking down one or two battleship rats or so. Just checking that no one's sent me a fleet invite there. I would recommend you do the Navy Molyneux. You could take some regular Molyneux torpedoes just to make things a wee bit cheaper. But to be honest, my Alt 2 can't fit the T2 guns yet. Just uses these and is absolutely fine. I actually find that the Kodari Navy ones apply better than the Javelin torpedoes, which are supposed to be, they give up a lot of their DPS, but have better application. But I actually find at the end of the day that the Navy ones apply the best to the smaller stuff. That's why also the fit has a target painter, so that I can get a 35% bonus with a Tech 2 target painter to the signature radius. That's going to be really important for taking down support rats, so cruiser and destroyer rats, and being able to at least somewhat kill the frigates. I'll show you how that goes in a little bit. But without this module here, you're going to struggle to apply to smaller things, and that's really what you're watching out in this fit. Everything else is just a bit more damage, a bit more speed, and of course an afterburner, not a micro warp drive, so that we are harder to hit. If you use a micro warp drive, you can go a lot faster. Here I'm still doing sub 1000 meters a second, but no battleship can hit me. Battle cruisers really struggle to hit me. Some cruisers can still hit me, and then I really have to watch out for those destroyers and frigates and just sort of stay away from them and prioritize them almost. So I was hoping to have my bomber here in E3 and take us all out from here. Due to the strat up, we kind of didn't really have a chance to set up, so my first job is to get to next door, which is a pocket system, and it just will give us a wee bit of hopefully some breathing room to find some rats to go kill, and I can show you how we do that. We do have some enemies in the system just now. I think they're hitting our ESS. I'm just going to ignore that, and hopefully no one's on my gate here. So Brave has a couple of pocket systems. R5 is one, has some ore in it, so you can mine there. Also has a pirate detection array, so it has some cosmic signatures and anomalies even that form and you can rat in. So we will get there, I'll get into a bomber, and then I'll show you the kind of general process that I use. If I don't get lucky and I don't go hunting for commander spawns, which is another thing I'm going to talk about, because this allows you basically wider, freer access to space, less risk, then it can make about just under 60 mil an hour. For a newer player, I think that's actually up there with faction warfare. And as I say, it has that little lucky chance of getting a faction spawn, and your bomber can absolutely handle that. So, I've had drops anywhere between 15 and 100 million out of things that my bomber has absolutely been fine killing. So just dock up at the Flotazar here and get into my bomber. Again, if anyone is just joining and you don't have a bomber, that's absolutely fine. You're welcome to join the fleet, should still be up if you're in Brave or part of the Alliance with good standing. And you're welcome to join in any frigate that has an afterburner. That's the only module you need, even if you don't bring damage. But it's always fun to bring a bit of damage. If it is just me, that's also fine, because you can see how viable it is with one bomber, and maybe where some of the challenges rely. The nice thing about the fact that it's a covert op ship as well is you get to choose your fights. So I can warp about belts and I don't have to worry about a dread spawn. I don't have to worry if I warp in and it's like 3 assault frigate rats and 1 battleship. I can decide not to take that fight, so you can sort of do the fights on your own terms. Now there's quite a few people in system here. This is a wee bit busier for this system than usual. Perhaps the belt rats might be taken. I was going to do it just on belt rats rather than a cosmic signature, but we'll do a cosmic signature, or anomaly I should say, if needed. I'm going to just choose one at random. Hopefully we get some. Either that or go to a planet. There's usually always rats at a planet. When you're away from the station, it's always good to cloak up. You're in a covert ops ship. It should always have this covert ops cloaking device. This allows you to warp while cloaked. It's one of the kind of cornerstones of the fit. As I maybe suspected that there is other ratters doing belt rats, so we're going to just actually going to hop to a planet here. Maybe I gave that guy a little scare. Sort of a bomber uncloaking even a blue one can always make you feel a little bit nervous. Yeah, so if you're just getting started with ratting, I think CCP removed a bunch of the actual asteroid belts from now, but we are lucky. We seem to still have our asteroid belts. And what I tend to find is, to put a cloak back on, is that belt rats, or the rats that now basically form around our skyhooks, they tend to have a bit of loot. So although your ticks, that is, the ISK that you get every time that a server decides to give you some money, is not going to match that of a... Oops, something decloaked me because I was doing it, better get going. Is not going to match that of anomalies, then it's still okay. Now you can see that there's a couple of small things on this field, so I need to prioritize them, and I've got rage, I've got rage, so I need to actually go to the stuff that can apply. If I get too low here, I might have to warp off and just take another fight. There's no battleships on here, so it's really only those 2 little frigates right now that's giving me any problems, okay? But we'll see if we can kill them quickly enough, and see if we can apply enough damage to them. So there we go. With a target painter, we did more than half the health of our frigate, even though it's a torpedo. Now what you can see here, I'm manually piloting, and I'm just keeping going at a high angle, keeping a high transversal velocity, so it's this column here, making sure that that stays high, and those bigger rats just absolutely cannot hit me. So again, target painter on, send my navy torps away, and these types of frigates are absolutely perfect to apply on. The ones for Blood Raiders anyway that are called Elder, basically the assault frigate type frigates, rats, those are the ones that you're actually going to want to watch out for, because they can be harder to apply on and they have better resists. So now hopefully you can see I'm moving crossways to these rats. I'm not burning in a straight line towards them, and they're all just missing me, and now I don't have to worry too much about taking damage. Now occasionally these ones can still get a good shot on me. I got to take a few shots there, so let's get them killed. Now I do see that we just have had enemy spawn into the system, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to align out to the Fortizar. I can't cloak while things are targeting me, but this is a perfect example of how you can continue to rat even when system isn't blue. I don't know if they'll come after me, but they might be hunting other things. But I'm pre-aligned to my kind of safe spot or get out of jail spot, and then now that nothing's targeting me, I can just cloak up, and there you go, I'm nice and safe again, before they got into the system. If I want to wait around for my loot, I can just wait here. I don't have to warp off, and I can just continue moving. I can't activate my afterburner, but because it's a covert op ship, I don't lose speed, so I'm still getting my maximum normal speed here, 420, while I'm aligning, so I'm not trailing away from my last spot. It's unlikely that they're going to warp in right on me, and if they did, I could just warp out as long as I'm paying attention. So we'll just hang around a little bit. I'm not going to stop ratting, just because there is one hostile in system, because the whole point of this fit and this kind of process is that you can continue to rat in space that's less than safe. Take this opportunity, I can have a wee look at chat. Yes, I can link the fit in chat. I cannot take out a dread spawn on my own. However, yes, you could. That's also a good thing. You can fit it with polarized torps if you have the money. That'll get you way more DPS. You do have to be careful. Like you saw there, I was still transversal, but I was close to those battle cruisers, and they could get a few lucky hits on me. So with polarized, you drop all your resists, and there's the uh, the enemy has decided that there's nothing spicy in this system, nothing worth going after, because we are safe. Give me a wee second and I will link the fit in the chat. I put it on the pings before, so it should be right there. There's 2 fits that are coming up. So there's an optimal fit that I'm flying just now. And then there is basically a meta guns version of the fit. Hopefully, I think that has not worked amazingly well. Still kind of new to Twitch, so I think there's a maximum text word count here, unfortunately. Maybe I have to do this in parts. Let's see. We'll just do the optimal one first and see how far we get with these. Let me try that again. Reached the character limit after. Oh, it's just the torpedo, so that should be the fit there, minus the torpedoes at the very bottom in that second post there. So that would be the optimal one. Basically, it's just meta guns for the less than optimal one, is the main difference. And you can make the target painter a meta target painter. Just if you can train into a Tech 2, you get that little bit of extra bonus. If you're struggling to apply to some of those assault frigate rats, you can always overheat it just for a little bit extra damage, can just help break their tank. Those assault frigate ones are the only things that I would consider too dangerous, because or could pose a danger. If there's 2 or 3, they can actually apply enough DPS to get through that medium shield extender. Remember, that's the only tank that you have. And they can point and web you. And remember, you're using your speed to stay alive. So you need to be ready to get out of dodge if you happen to get those rats. That's why doing anomalies can be a little bit dicey until you know what you're doing, because multiple waves can come in. Some waves can come in right on top of you, and you really need to kind of keep your distance from those small things. So let's plop to another planet. We'll just pick a random one. We'll see what we get there. I'm going to warp at 30 this time from the Skyhook. I think I maybe warped at 0, and that's why I got decloaked. I'm going to warp at 30. I now also have my Navy torpedoes, which I'll apply nicely to those small stuff. So here I have 2 cruisers and 2 battle cruisers. A little bit far away, so I can decloak a little bit early and just burn over there. Right now with my skills, I am getting 71 kilometer range on the navies. I am training missile projection 5, so this is without missile projection 5. I think it'll be 77 around there, 78 kilometers with missile projection 5, something like that. So I get a little bit more distance, but that kind of bubble of damage that you can do with these torpedoes allows you to keep your distance from these slightly smaller targets. If certain elite cruisers get very close to you, they can sometimes apply quite well, even if you're going at high transversals. They can also move quite quickly, so they can sort of fall in line behind you. So if you're not paying attention and you have just dropped an MTU and you're orbiting that, which is your kind of standard Ishtar kind of bot version of doing an anomaly, then they can sort of fall in line behind you. You can see here that I'm always approaching at an angle. I'm never burning directly to them. A little bit of manual piloting, just double clicking in space. When you get within sort of range to hit, you could orbit 30 and you'll sort of spiral in. I'll start applying some damage and then we'll try that. So if I go just now here, orbit at 30, I shouldn't take such a direct path. All autopiloting is not as good as manual piloting, so the sooner you can sort of learn manual piloting, the better, I think. And that will help you when you're in PvP as well. I see that I might hit off this structure, so I'm actually going to switch direction. Bumping off collidable objects is something that can get you killed. So there's a little bit of risk here, but the meta fit, for example, your 60, 70 mil buy-in instead of hundreds of millions of ISK for an Ishtar. for example. So the Shadow Sage, they've got close to me. You can see how quickly they got close to me, and they've started doing a little bit of damage. Quite a few things is still missing. They can be faster than I am with my afterburner, so you do have to watch the smaller stuff and prioritize that first. But you can see my application is absolutely fine. Just always remember target painter first. Try and watch anything that's in a direct line. Anything that's in a direct line could get a lucky shot off on you, but that medium shield extender just means that you have that wee bit of breathing room. And usually it's just as you're turning, or one or two kind of lucky shots will not threaten your whole ship, and you can sort of adjust and give you that kind of space to do that. Maybe time to check some chat. Oh yeah, sure, I can put that in Alliance chat. No worries. Just put the fit that I'm in just now. There you go. I'll need to set this up with some kind of chat overlay. It's my second stream, so I've not got all the technology working for me just yet. So I'm just taking some quiet times to answer any questions. But if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop it in chat. Using an MTU can be good. It can hoover up all your Rex. You can also just prioritize Rex. Like I was saying, I do find that Planet and Belt Rat's loot tends to be better on average than the loot that you get out of your standard battleship Rex. We have yet to actually do a battleship, so I'm going to warp around until I find a battleship to do, to show you that it can actually take down battleships with pretty much ease. You could just prioritize the large Rex. They tend to carry the best loot. You are a bit faster than most battleships at moving, so you can do that. And some of those, blood popes can have between 2 and 4 million in loot a pop. So even before, if you're not salvaging, getting 4 million per wreck plus the nearly 2 million bounty. Can be pretty good for a newer player in terms of kind of ISK making. I tend to find that most mediums, the occasional medium will have a million ISK or so, but most just have a few 100k. So they can be ignored, or if you put down an MTU, you can hoover up everything and sort of get a combined result. It sort of all adds up. So let's go for a battleship hunt now. So we'll just warp around Skyhooks. We won't take fights now until we find a battleship. So that we can see it actually taking down a battleship rat. One bit of behaviour I do notice from rats and belts though, is that if you kill the support, which you kind of have to do in this fit, so you have to prioritise those small frigates and destroyers especially, because you can't stop them applying damage to you. So here we have a bit of a tough fight, and sometimes if I kill all this support first, the larger thing can warp away. So they sometimes run, and as soon as they start their warp, they basically become invulnerable to targeting anymore, which seems a little bit unfair and a little bit broken. If that happens, you've kind of lost the rat. So we'll take this on. This is not our ideal matchup, but we'll see how we do. They're far away, so that gives me a wee bit of chance. So I'm not going to approach too heavily here. I'm going to go quite an angle, because I want to kind of maximise my time I have before the frigates get to me, because they're not doing damage due to distance right now. I'm still in range, but you'll see that they are fast. They can close that gap fairly rapidly. None of these are elite frigates. That's the reason I took the fight. If this was 3 elite frigates and 1 battleship, I probably would have just moved on. I can do those fights, but they're not ideal, and they can get a wee bit spicy. When I'm multi-boxing with my second account, I can apply very well to those elite frigates because I effectively have 2 target painters. So that's the kind of break point for elite frigates, is having 2 target painters. I would say that's the only thing that really struggles, or is a struggle with this kind of approach. Really why I'm kind of showing this off and trying to promote it a bit though is that the kind of frontiers of Brave Space, it's a struggle to do ratting in there, because if you're one jump away from PR attack or something, then you can easily get dropped on and taken something like an Ishtar there. I'm not in a place where I have the money to replace Ishtars every week, and it sort of undoes the point of doing the ratting. But you can take this bomber if you know what you're doing. If I was in a system that wasn't neutral, then I would obviously bring up my D-scan. That will be for another class or look up a video. And as long as I'm watching D-scan, I'm still relatively safe for anything that isn't cloaked, at least. These archbishops, you did see, within 26 kilometers, they will newt you, and because you're a frigate, then that will just probably kill your cap. If they're the only thing on grid, not to worry. Even if they newt your afterburner off, they actually still can't hit you. So the afterburner is like, and this isn't an oversized prop or anything, it's just a 1MN. I've got a Tech 2 fit here. You could use an Enduring if you wanted, or whatever you'd like. But even just running like this at 30 kilometers, I'll turn it off just now just to show that off a little bit, then I don't think this thing can really hit me. 30 kilometers also can't newt me either. So for certain Blood Raider, their EWAR is newts, then you do have to watch that newt pressure. It won't turn off your launcher, but it will turn off your target painter and your afterburner. So if there's other things on fields like cruisers, they're going to be applying much better to you, and you're going to struggle to apply to them. So do watch those neuting rats. Your kind of big safety margin there is your distance and the fact that you can hit out to 70 plus kilometers. So let's go poke this wreck. I'll take this opportunity to reload my torps, and we'll just see how much we've got in this large wreck. So you can definitely cherry pick the loot. Doesn't take too long to kill these largies. If you can fly the Tech 2, we'll see if we can find one more battleship, and we'll kill it with rage torpedoes, which should be a little bit faster. If you are, our friend is back here, so we're not going to worry too much. We're going to go see if we can snipe this loot. I am going to bring up D-scan just because I can't cloak while I'm getting near this loot. So I'm just going to be a little bit safe and hopefully not get caught in stream, because that would be a bit of a laugh. So we had 1.5 million in there. I'm going to align out to the Fortizar, get away from this wreck, at least plus 2,000, and I'm going to cloak up. Malediction is now 5 AU, so potentially Malediction could land on us. It looks like they are going to try and come in, so I'm going to just stay cloaked. I am aligned to the Fortizar. They might be in warp. They were a really good hunter if they managed to spot that I was here. So quickly, we'll see if they actually come to me or they are coming to someone else who is nearby. We'll just wait it out. But this is a great demo for my stream, so thank you, Queen Crab, for this. You've given me some good content. Now it looks like they're going after someone else. Hopefully everyone's safe. That once you're cloaked and safe, then that is you. You can sit there until your enemy gives up or moves on. And it tends to be that these crab hunters, they shotgun systems, they're in and out of systems, like you saw here. And if they don't see anything juicy, then they'll just move on because they don't want to just sit in a system. So generally that tends to be the case. They have now left, just like I said. Let's see if there's any questions. Yeah, definitely should make a Rattan fleet. So what my plan is I can ping out a ADM fleet and suggest bombers. As soon as you can go in packs of 2 or 3, and as a force multiplier, and as soon as you have at least 2 bombers in a little group, those assault frigate rats don't threaten you. So 2 target painters, and your torpedoes apply to them like cruisers, and you will absolutely break their tanks. Yeah, you could shotgun asteroid belts, you could shotgun anomalies, some of the lower tier ones. I have had some close calls. I've not lost a bomber yet to any of these anomalies, but I have had some close calls where I've just kind of not been paying attention, and I've allowed some fast cruiser, basically the elite cruiser. They can't hit me with high transversal, and remember you can always see that in your transversal column here, and you can have that visible. And if something large goes small here, you can arrange this to show you the small to large, then you're potentially risking your ship. And I got out in structure, I think, with that anomaly. So you do have to be careful in some of the anomalies. But belt rattling like this, remember there's also a desolate asteroid belt in every system. CCP put that in as a band-aid to try and fix the problem that they created by getting rid of asteroid belts for some reason. Some rats can be there, although I do find the spawn rate there a little low. Even if there's people like in this system doing the belts, they tend to leave the skyhooks alone, and you do get basically a belt spawn in each skyhook. So in this system, there's 10 planets or so. That's some decent kind of rotation you can do there. Also find that sometimes the warp in for these, by the time I've finished looting these wrecks, the next group is in. And remember, if you're cloaked, you can always choose to take the fight or not. So if doesn't look like a juicy enough target, if there's no battleships, or if there's too much small stuff, just move on until you find your 2 or 3 battleship spawn that you want. We'll try another planet, and then I'll take any questions. And really, that's kind of it after that. If I had a few people in fleet, I was maybe going to go out and do a sort of live ADM roam to a frontier system, just to see if I can get a little bit of content. I have to dodge some people, but I've had some enemies come into this system, and I've had to kind of engage some of those sort of safety protocols, and able to show them. Maybe we'll have a wee look at this one. There's a few less people in system now, so we can maybe look at the belts. It doesn't take long for them to respawn, or I'll jump into a low tier anomaly for you just to finish the class off. Perfect time for any questions if I have not covered anything, if you have any burning thoughts on this. First time I posted this class, it was definitely caught a wee bit of controversy because people are, why don't you just use a battleship? Well, there are reasons. So I've worked close, I have decloaked, so I do need to be careful. If you do warp at 0 like I did there, you are going to decloak yourself. We're going to try a belt now. I'm going to warp at 30 to the belt before these things start hitting me, because I'm really after some battleships now. I'm kind of done with this small stuff. Want to show you tanking against several battleships and how they're just not hitting me. And honestly, when I'm set up and I've got high transversal, multiple battleships threaten this ship less than they threaten my Praxis. Just some small stuff. I was thinking that it's always Dark Blood as the commander wreck with the high bounty. So unfortunately, this Blood Dark Priest is just one of those elite cruisers. You do have to be a little bit careful of those. They have higher resist. If you go here and look at their attributes, you can see. Oh, this one's actually not too bad. It's got 50% and it's low there. Sometimes they are higher. Oh, there is a wreck in the way, so I've been decloaked by a wreck. I do have to be careful about that. I always have to be paying attention. I'll warp at 50 to the next one. They're still far enough away that they're not hitting me, even though I was sitting at 0. There we go, cloak up again. And we'll see the next one. Yeah, some of these elite rats can have over 70. These cruiser ones can have over 70 or 77% resist. So they can be really difficult to hit. Not getting many battleships tonight. It's a bit unusual. We usually get more battleships than this. I'm just determined to get some battleships. But whoever was doing belt ratting seems to have stopped now. You can see that there's some wrecks here. If the field is free and there's no MTU, then these things here usually are kind of free, just up for grabs. They're obviously just wanting to get the bounties, but there was 2 large wrecks there, and if they can have 1.5 to 4 million in them, then you can sneak a little bit of extra free cash as well. So don't want to fuck anyone over, but oh, here we have a battleship. So it does have 1 assault frigate support, so we do have to be a little bit careful of that guy. This is not a Newton one, so I'm going to start orbiting 30k with that. Turned on my prop mod. It's a little bit closer than I would like, so it's not going to give me as much time. I still have my Kildari navies. Always check that you're not hitting the Tech 2 Furies against these assault frigates. We'll see how well we apply to this guy. So we've done, it's not really the shield that's the issue. They tend to have quite good armor reps. I might need to overheat my torps here, or even overheat my target painter, just depending on the reps that they do. He is kind of trailing behind me a little bit, so he's not done too much damage, and I'm applying it not bad. They also seem to have like a micro warp drive. They can go insane for a little while, and it can be really hard to hit them. Don't worry if you're not immediately breaking them. when they sort of slow down, when they feel that they get into range, you'll apply a little bit better. So yeah, took him down, no problem. That frees me up to take up the battleship. Hopefully it does not warp off. And there's a few other juicy wrecks here. I can see if any of them are large. It looks like some of the larger ones have been looted. So someone's just been cherry picking. Oh, I was going to do Rage. So you can see the damage from this Kodari Navy. The last one when it hits, 2,685. Let's see how Rage does with one target painter. I know it does very well with two target painters, so if you are multi-boxing or you have a buddy, you can get two target painters on a battleship and you have the Tech 2 Rage, you'll absolutely chew them. So let's see if this beats the Navy, because Rage is, although it's a Tech 2 ammo, is cheaper than faction ammo, just to show you the damage. So 2-2, so with one target painter this time, the Rage is actually doing a little bit less than the faction, but it is significantly cheaper. So I'm going to turn that off, and we'll go down to just the bare Tech 1 torpedo, the non-faction one, just to see what the damage that is like, to give you a kind of idea. Let's see. Still against armor, have some armor reps. Usually this can be less than 1,000 sometimes, so we'll see. 2-3. So actually this time, I've seen my Rage do a little bit better than that, but just the bare bones Tech 1 is doing not bad. Now it's onto structure, they lose the resist, so it always does more once they get into structure. When that says, let's go see what loot he had. I've not had any of the high-end popes. I think some people have been doing some belt ratting here. If that happens, folks, just go to another system. There is a chance for a dark blood spawn. I'd say it's uncommon, not rare. Like I'd maybe get one or two a night if I'm doing some ratting for 2 or 3 hours. If you're not getting any in this system, you could, in theory, go out and just go through each of your belts cloaked and just look for faction spawns. And remember, sometimes the loot can be a bit rubbish, but sometimes it can be 30, 40, 60 million from one rat, plus a 10 million plus bounty if it's a battleship one. So this one had 2.3 million in loot. Now, I'm a frigate, so my cargo space is a little bit limited. I decided to bring 4 types of ammo to show off tonight. Normally, if you're in your meta guns, you might only have this Mjolnir stuff, so you'd have a little bit more space. But right now I'm carrying just 3 mil in loot with another mil there, and I'd have to go back and dump it or get an MTU and then hoover it all up and then get another ship like a catalyst with a salvager. But that's just standard sort of ratting, whatever you prefer and what your kind of goals and aims are. But yeah, you can go look for those faction spawns. The bomber can easily handle those, and you can get some really good loot. And you can cherry pick systems wide and far, or you can head towards where there's corporation projects. So I'm just going to get safe for a little second and go back to the Photozar. If you go to projects, you will see part of the reason for promoting this type of content and fleet. Links and opportunities. Corporation projects here, just in case you've not seen this. You will see that there is ADM, these are mining ones, but ADM for say an HM tac. So in this system, for every rat that you kill, and I've happened to kill 4 here, just on fleets mostly, you get an extra 50,000 ISK. So you help out the Alliance by boosting the ADMs, which makes the system more secure. But in addition, you get a nice little extra payout for every rat that you kill. This one's coming near to the end, but if they want more ADMs, then they'll refresh this. So you can help target these specific systems, and you get a nice little extra bonus for it, while being a little bit safer than risking your Ishtar or your Vexor Newbro. And that's the last comment, that compared to the Vexor Newbro, this does way more DPS as soon as you can get into it. And I think although the skill requirement to get into a Vexor is significantly lower than the Bomber, although it still takes drones 5, and you're going to need a frigate's level 5 skill for this. The initial DPS of this is better with faction ammo than definitely your Tech 1 drones. and then it takes a while to get to your Tech 2 drones, and even then you still have all of your drone support skills. There is obviously missile support skills, however, I just feel that the sort of immediate DPS and alpha that you get from a bomber just kind of outstrips that Vexor Nubro edition. However, the advantage with the Vexor Nubro edition, or any Vexor, is that you have acolytes, so you don't have the problem applying damage to those small stuff, although we didn't really have too much of a problem tonight. So really that's kind of it. If there's any final questions you would like to see, I will try and hopefully also save this video this time, my faction warfare video. I didn't realise Twitch killed it after 30 days. That's on me, I'll need to remake that, oh no. But I'll hopefully post this one to YouTube, because I've got a YouTube channel that I used to post some brave fights to. Maybe I can link that in chat before we finish up. If I can find my own channel, it would be lovely. I also have one other thing to show you here. I can put on, I think, this page. Here we go. So this is just the Eve University for the different sites. I've personally done up to the kind of Forsaken rally points. So in this kind of like level 6 sort of level, I've kind of stayed away from the hubs and the havens. That's for my battleship to kind of tackle, just because there's so much small stuff that they'll basically be on you before because the wave sizes get kind of large. The small waves of frigates and destroyers, it still takes you a decent time to kill those. You're not really faster killing those than battleships by too much. So they can start to threaten you, and they're faster than your afterburner for sure. So I've kind of personally done, just a bit over halfway kind of on this board of difficulty, and I've had like 2 faction spawns from that. One's been a bit rubbish, and the other's got me like 130 million loot from a bomber. Just single bomber. This was before I started kind of multi-boxing or doing sort of asteroid sweeps. So have a look at some of these names, see what your bomber can safely take, and you can do some of the anomalies as well as the belts. Just remember that the loot overall, once you do the complete site, I would recommend using an MTU here for sure, so you can hoover up all the wrecks. Is good, just per battleship or per drop, it isn't as good as the ones in the asteroid belts. They tend to have good loot. We're getting 1.5 million at least, and you do those popes. Unfortunately, we didn't quite see a pope tonight, but they can have 3 or 4 million per drop. And for a new player, I think that earning you about 60 million an hour roughly is up there with some of the best newer, lower skill point sort of stuff that you can do. And you're not risking a huge amount of ISK to do it. If you know what you're doing with D-Scan and your cloak, you're also much safer than many other types of ships that you can put out there for ratting for sure. I'm just going to check chat one more time, but otherwise that may be us for tonight. So would using a Nemesis be better? Yeah, possibly. I've not played around with the Nemesis for a long time. If you can fit 2 target painters on that thing, then definitely that would let you jump up an application to small assault frigates. Oh, I'm multicasting the screen. Don't want to do that. We'll come off that on my thing. Go back to just this one. Yeah, and like you saw, the rage there with my 1 target painter this time wasn't so great. I think that battleship might have a smaller sig or something than some of the other ones. I have seen rage do a bit better than that, than the navies. But yeah, with 2 target painters, if you're using that Tech 2 rage torps, then you'll be doing something like 3.5. When I multi-box my 2 bombers, 3,500, and that's to shield or armor, not to structure. So definitely try that out. Give it a go. might switch to Nemesis. I have seen that for blood rats specifically, sometimes the EM is a few percent lower than the thermal resists, according to the info on some of the rats. So you might do a little bit more EM damage, but I think, to be honest, using 2 target painters might actually win out over that small difference. Someone was talking earlier about dread spawns. It used to be that, and I think you still can. You can take a number of griffins. I think we used to do like 5 to 7, maybe minimum 3 or 4 griffins with racial jams, so yellow jams and Blood Raider space, and 5 to 7, 5 to 10 bombers, fitted similar to how I'm fitted, and take down those NPC dreads. That way, just keep it jammed, and all the Griffin pilots would call if you got an active jam or not, to make sure it was always jammed at all times. So while you can't take out a dread solo, if you go with a few of your friends, if this becomes a popular way to rat in spicy systems, and you have a few in system or in nearby systems with bombers, and a few of you can get into griffins, then you can absolutely take on that nasty dread spawn and get the juicy loot and salvage. If there's any last questions, please post them now. Otherwise, hopefully this was informative, maybe a little bit of an alternative way to make some ISK and push up ADMs for the Alliance. It's like I said, it is not going to be compatible to Ishtar, Praxis, or Disco Domi ticks. No one ever said that that's true. However, it does let you hunt for faction spawns while under the safety of Cloak, and it does let you pick your fights, cloak up in enemy systems. So I think some of the advantages definitely outweigh some of those limitations. For me, certainly, on paper, my Praxis kills ships much faster than this bomber, but when do I feel safe to undock it? We had 2 same person but twice. There was a malediction came in to threaten the system. If I happen to be in warp to somewhere, or I've just warped off this fort here, and the malediction has seen where I've went, then they're going to be waiting for me when I drop out of warp, and I could be pointed. So there's definitely a lot of risk. So when you feel comfortable about undocking your expensive stuff, versus how often will you feel comfortable undocking this? I feel comfortable undocking this every night. I've watched a lot of solo PvP, so there is I don't know if they're still 2 active, but Wingspan has a interesting line of YouTube videos. I would recommend go look for Wingspan TT. Kind of started the craze of solar bomber hunting, using really a similar setup with a target painter. I think they did use a Nemesis with 2 target painters. I think was the kind of goal there, possibly, unless they had to use one for a warp scram or a point. And I think Wingspan started off hunting like exploration frigates and things. And the big reveal there was that people before completely dismissed bombers, DPS against frigate-sized targets. Like, why would you go out? You're sort of like picking the wrong tool for the job, to go out and hunt frigates and a bomber. But the advantages of the warp and the cloak, and the alpha you can still do with target painters to frigates and faction ammo, is good enough to kill them. So it's been done. I've not done it myself. In terms of solo PvP, I've definitely had bombers flying around in fleets, and I've kind of uncloaked to third party on something that's kind of already been tackled by something else. But definitely a bit of fun gameplay, and to say the price ain't too bad. So when and if you lose something that isn't going to sting as much as going out in some kind of expensive Othris or Garmer, for sure. I think I am going to just call it there, folks. Hopefully you had a good time, kind of informative bit, wee bit of unexpected content in terms of enemies hunting us, and getting to show off some of the sort of defensive things you can do. So you can definitely never plan those things. So I will catch you folks another time. See you later.